Welcome into the Solo Shot Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Dom Manna. Happy Solo Shot Sunday edition championship series kickoff here live, just because this is the time I was able to get to it. And the first game, Mariners and Blue Jays game 1 kicks off in about 3 hours. So we're here to recap what happened in the division series, for me to get my opinions and picks out for the championship series. And do it on a short notice. Some of you are going to catch me live, like Adam and a couple of guys in the chat. Some of you are going to listen to me sometime during the beginning of your week while these series are just getting started. Now, these are 7-game series, so there's a little bit more life to these podcast episodes. There's a little bit more length to go because, you have to win 4 games this time. It's not 2, it's not 3, it's now 4 games, best of 7. And I know a lot of people were saying with these game 5s, the best 3 words in sports, winner take all. And it was just like, no, you're trying to riff off the best 2 words in sports are game 7, which we have the opportunity to get now in these 2 series. But the divisional series, as upset as I was, because it proved that I clearly do not know ball, I went 1-3 after going 2-2 in the wild card round in terms of picks. It was still great baseball to watch nonetheless. So many great streams, so many great moments, so many great comebacks, so many big offensive performances, so many awesome pitching performances. It is unbelievable. And we're going to start in the National League because that just finished off last night, where the Brewers were able to take down the Cubs in 5 games. So I was right about the length of that series, but not about the victor. And that was maybe the toughest series for me to pick this past round. And it was because how much the Cubs bullpen impressed me in the series against the Padres. I thought that was going to be the real edge the Padres had on the Cubs, but the Cubs bullpen came to play. And I was expecting it to be a real weapon here in this Brewers series, where the Brewers bullpen is good. The Brewers starting rotation is Freddie Peralta's elite, and then they have some really solid guys. But I was expecting the Cubs' increased bullpen with their higher offensive ceiling to be the difference. And the Cubs almost made me right. Didn't end up coming through. Last night, you saw the home runs early go back and forth, and there was all Brewers the rest of the way. I am happy for the Milwaukee Brewers. This is a team that I gave a ton of credit during the regular season. I said that the Central still runs through them. I picked them to win the division, unlike a lot of people who had picked the Cubs to win it all. There was a handful of people picking the Reds to go from worst to first. I still said it was the Brewers division. Nobody thought they were going to be quite as good as they were this regular season, having the best record in the big leagues, but they were awesome all year long. They pitched quality innings. Their offense had producers from stars like Jackson Holliday and Christian Yelich, all the way to guys who are going to potentially become household names if the Brewers go far enough here, in Bryce Terang and Andrew Vaughn, who both hit home runs last night, Blake Perkins. The list goes on and on. The Brewers have a ton of really quality players. They're not superstars, but they are doing their job, as a Patriots fan likes to say. So hats off to the Brewers. They played a fantastic series. I think Jackson Chourio especially really welcomed himself to the world with his playoff performance. He was good last year in the playoffs, but he was certifiably great in the DS here against the Cubs. There was so many great moments. Like I said, Vaughn hitting home runs, Yelich hitting over 300, Terang with the defense, the speed, and the hitting. This Brewers team is a complete package, and they are 6-0 this season against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now, it's regular season baseball. The Dodgers were not at full strength like they are right now, but the Brewers will not back down from this challenge as they try to go to their first World Series since 1982, and they try to win their first World Series in franchise history. And I know there's a lot of people outside of LA that will be rooting for them to do so in the CS. On the other side, the Dodgers made me look silly, and I knew that there's a chance for that to happen. I just wanted to see good baseball. I had to stick to my priors. I picked the Phillies to win it all, and I had to stick to that because if I turned on them and they won, I would feel like a fraud. And the Phillies made me look like a fraud anyway because they just didn't show up in the late innings of the first couple of games. They got fantastic starts from Christopher Sanchez and Jesus Luzardo, and the offense and the bullpen was just not able to capitalize game 1 and 2. You go down 2-0, having to go to LA against the Dodgers is a tall task. Game 3, you have to burn 2 of your starters in Aaron Nola and Ranger Suarez, who pitched like a hero for them in that game, and they're able to take game 3. And I'm sitting here in game 4 saying, okay, Sanchez on short rest. He came out, he pitched wonderfully again, which was unbelievable. Christopher Sanchez is someone who is not going to win the Cy Young this year, but as I talked about, had a Cy Young caliber season, like a truly great season, one of the greatest seasons by a pitcher to not make the All-Star team. It was awesome to watch Christopher Sanchez deal in this game. He did everything he could to give the Phillies a chance to win in 2 separate games where like I said, the offense did not do what it was supposed to do, and the bullpen did not hold on. And I hate to harp on this because I know it was the talk of the town when it happened. Orion Kirkring, who had been fantastic for the Phillies this year out of the bullpen, 24-year-old kid, great season. He comes in and has 2 outs, doesn't throw the ball to first base. And I understand the pressure of that moment is something that I will never experience. I totally understand that as a fan sitting on the couch watching this live. The ball is hit to him. He bobbles it, and JT Realmuto does what a defensive player is supposed to do, and he covers his base. It's a much shorter throw to home, but you have way more time because there's a guy coming 100 miles per hour down the third base line to score the winning run. You have so much more time to turn, compose, and throw over to Bryce Harper and get out of that inning, and they don't end up doing it. Now, I don't think the Phillies would have went on to win that game. Nothing with the way they were playing that night was telling me they were going to win that game. But for a Phillies team that went from losing the World Series to losing in the Championship Series to losing in the DS to then losing on an error in the DS this year, I think if the baseball gods could give signs, that was the sign that this Phillies era is over. And I know a lot of people have been talking about with Castellanos having a year left, with Schwarber and Realmuto being free agents, they need to bring all these guys back. Wheeler coming off an injury in his 30s. I think they need to really shake things up. This team, Harrison Bader was your second best hitter in this series behind Realmuto, who has been on the decline as a catcher. Alec Boehm, who they wanted to trade all offseason, was their third best hitter. That's not a championship combination. And I know Schwarber had the 2 home run game in game 3. I know Bryce Harper is a future Hall of Famer. Trey Turner as well, I think, is on that Hall of Fame path. Turner and Harper, you're locked in. Those are guys that you want to build around. But honestly, outside of them, I am okay with blowing the whole thing up. Bryson Stott, Nick Castellanos, Alec Boehm. Trade 1 or 2 of those guys out of there. Let Schwarber and Real Muto walk. Bring in some different culture guys and add to that bullpen, because Duran pitched admirably in the series. He's a fantastic addition. You really felt the missing piece of Jose Alvarado in this series, a lefty arm, high leverage arm that could be part of it, but they need to add more to that bullpen, because guys like Matt Strahm, like David Robertson, like Orion Kirkring, they're good, but you need more bullpen depth. So when these stud pitchers, you have Wheeler under contract, you have Sanchez, you have Luzardo, you have those 3 studs under contract, and they give you 6 to 8 great innings, you need to be able to shut that door. And the offense needs to be able to step up and do their thing. And Bryce Harper kept saying it after every loss, we just didn't do what needed to be done. And you can only say that so many times. Dave Dombrowski is the type of general manager where he'll go out and be aggressive and make big moves. And I'm hoping the Phillies make one of those big splashes this offseason. I'm hoping that they make some trades, and a third of this lineup should be different next year. You look at the rotation, Ranger Suarez is a free agent. Aaron Nola is still under contract, but you have Andrew Painter as one of the highest pitching prospects in baseball, set to be potentially your number 5 starter next year over Ranger Suarez. I'm okay with letting that ride as much as Ranger Suarez has been awesome. So just make some changes, Phillies. I still believe that Bryce Harper and Trey Turner and Dave Dombrowski can win a World Series here. I just think you need to have an overhaul of some of these other guys, because they're taking steps backward. They're not taking steps forward since making the World Series in 2022. And I think that this team's window has officially closed with Orion Kirkring throwing the ball over Real Muto's head. So the Dodgers move on to the NLCS yet again. And like I said, whoever wins this series should be favored to win the whole thing. The Dodgers are playing fantastic right now, and I got to give some credit to them, because it wasn't just the Phillies losing these games. The Dodgers did things to win these games, whether that be that fantastic defensive play by Max Muncy and Mookie Betts getting the force out at third base. That's a very hard play to pull off regularly, whether that be Roki Sasaki pitching in big innings, late in game leverage when he didn't want to sign in LA because of the spotlight, and now he's an October hero. The Dodgers are really, really scary. Shohei Ohtani did nothing in this series, and they were able to take care of business in 4 games against one of the best teams in baseball in Philadelphia. So hats off to the Dodgers. They go to face the Brewers. It is quite literally the biggest of markets versus a small market, like scrappy team that does all the fundamental things right. It is David versus Goliath, and I'm very, very excited for this NLCS. On the American League side, you have the Mariners. My one pick that was correct. I had Mariners in 5. I thought you were only going to see Skubal once in this series, but pitchers were willing and able to throw on short rest in the division series. I was not expecting that, especially a guy like Skubal that doesn't have the long-term commitment. Skubal pitched fantastic in this series, but it didn't matter because, like I said, situational hitting and bullpen arms. You have to be able to drive runners in. You have to be able to pitch and leverage. These are things that matter in any baseball game, but especially when the lights are the brightest in October. The Tigers had some great moments. They had some great performances, but this Mariners team just seemed inevitable, especially in that 15-inning game. For those of you that stood up and watched the whole thing like myself, it just felt like every time the Tigers had an opportunity to take the lead, that there'd be some amazing defensive play to get them out of it, and we'd be right back. It wasn't a matter of if the Mariners would win that game. It was when and who would get the hit. And as you see from the thumbnail, it was Mr. Jorge Polanco, who in the first Skubal start had 2 home runs off Skubal, which was the first player to do so since 2022, which was pre-dominant Skubal, early Skubal. There was guys hitting 2 home runs in a single game off him. Polanco does that there. He ends up getting the RBI to walk it off and send the Mariners to their first ALCS since 1995. And like the Brewers, they have never won a championship. So they're a team that a lot of neutral fans, I think, are getting behind. And Cal Raleigh stepped up to the challenge. Not only did he catch 15 innings in the clinching game, but he hit 381 in the series. He hit a home run. He was getting on base, both by earning walks and as well as being intentionally walked. He is the Mariners' heartbeat. He is their offense. I'm hoping in the CS that Julio Rodriguez, that Jorge Polanco, that Eugenio Suarez, that Josh Naylor, that Victor Robles, JP Crawford, all these guys can be a little bit more consistent around Raleigh, because the Blue Jays showed in the Yankees series that I was right to pick them to win the division, and that even though they finished with the same record, that the Blue Jays were the superior team. And it's because of their total package. Their starting pitching gets it done, but their lineup had a ton of great bounce back candidates, has the best first baseman in baseball, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who did not shy away from the moment in this series, was awesome. Yankees lose with Big Papi was iconic. And the Blue Jays did what the Red Sox weren't able to do in the Yankee series, and was put the ball in play on all these fastballs in the zone. And the Yankees defense wasn't able to keep up. The Yankees offense wasn't able to keep up. And the Blue Jays are a legit wagon. They have not won a World Series since 1993, and they haven't been to an ALCS since 2016. This Blue Jays team, adding Chris Bassett and Max Scherzer to the CS roster with the Savage performance in Game 2, they're going to be a real tough team to beat. Real tough. And that brings us to your ALCS matchup, Blue Jays Mariners. I feel like this is very America versus Canada. I feel like there's very few people outside of Toronto that are rooting for the Blue Jays. Like I said, the Mariners and Cal Raleigh's magical season. They've never won a World Series. The Dramatics, they have great starting pitching. Munoz is maybe the best closer in baseball right now. They just feel like a team of destiny. And the Blue Jays, are a great team, man. It's hard. I write down my picks before these episodes, but especially with how I've been doing with my picks, it almost makes me want to just flip a coin and see what happens, because whoever I pick, I feel like I'm putting some bad juju on, and I don't want to be responsible for that with so much on the line here for Vladdy's legacy as well as the Mariners franchise. All right. We're going to flip a coin for the ALCS. Hey, Siri. Mariners will be heads. I didn't get that. Could you try again? Flip a coin for me. It's tails. All right. You heard it here. Blue Jays in 7 via the Siri coin. And I honestly think that matchup makes a lot of sense, because the Blue Jays past Vladimir Guerrero Jr. have so many guys that put the ball in play, make great contact, and they did it without George Springer, who's one of the greatest playoff performers in modern baseball history. not having a great series against the Yankees. Alejandro Kirk was hitting the ball. Ernie Clement put himself on the national map. Nathan Lukes. There were so many performers. They're going to have Bo Bichette back as well. The Blue Jays in 7 for the ALCS, as the Mariners outside of Cal Raleigh don't get it done according to the series coin flip there. On the National League side of things, I can't pick against the Dodgers, even though I want to. I think it would be fantastic for baseball if it was a Brewers-Mariners World Series, and one of those two teams would be walking away with their first ever World Series championship. Those cities deserve it. The Dodgers are a dynasty. They have 3 Hall of Famers hitting at the top of their lineup. Mookie Betts playing fantastic defense at shortstop. Their starting rotation is dealing. Blake Snell has performed great in the postseason. Yamamoto as well. Glasnow had a fantastic series. And like I said, Roki Sasaki out of the bullpen now, pitching high leverage innings, getting saves. His first career save being in October. The Dodgers, their offense is relentless. Their pitching staff is nasty. And while their bullpen is not quite as good top to bottom as the Brewers, I think in the majority of spots, if you put their rosters side by side, the Dodgers, out of the 26 men, would probably have an advantage at around 20 spots. And that is unrelenting. I'm going to say Dodgers in 6. I think the Brewers will get a couple games here. They've played the Dodgers tough all year. And it's great baseball, but the Dodgers, I just put the jinx on the Dodgers and the Blue Jays. Stay tuned this championship series to find out and see if I go from 2-2 to 1-3 to 0. We will see. Now, here at the Solo Shot Sports Podcast, we can throw back down the third baseline to this date in baseball history. And October 12th had quite a few things for me to choose from. But because I jinxed the Cubs, as I talked about earlier, I wanted to talk about a very positive thing that happened. We talked last week on the show about under the radar moves that happen by the teams that aren't playing in October while all the attention is on the playoff games, and these sneaky moves about like managerial hirings and firings and all that stuff can have a really big impact later on. On this date in 2011, the Cubs announced that they were signing Red Sox president of baseball operations Theo Epstein to a 5-year contract to take over their franchise. And this was huge because Epstein obviously helped the Red Sox break the curse in 2004, helped them win another World Series in 2007, built a fantastic young pipeline of players, including John Lester, Jacoby Ellsbury, and Dustin Pedroia. And they were perennially good up until the last couple of years Epstein was there. 2011, the Red Sox had a terrible September collapse where on the last day of the season, they lost and the Rays hit a walk-off home run by Evan Longoria to go to the playoffs. The Red Sox missed. Francona, a couple days earlier, announced that he was parting ways with the team, and Theo Epstein decided to take his talents elsewhere as well because Terry was his manager and things weren't going in the direction that he wanted to. Cubs baseball changed forever when they brought Theo Epstein in. And it wasn't just because he knew how to land big-time free agents and make big-time trades, a la John Lester, a la Aroldis Chapman, who were two of the biggest pieces of that 2016 team. But they knew how to develop from within. And if you look at these great baseball teams, there are teams that are supplemented by free agent acquisitions. But the truly perennially great baseball teams have homegrown talent. They have guys that are under team control, have reasonable contracts, and are really key pieces of the team. Those guys allow you to build a real winner, or in the 2016 Cubs instance, a World Series champion around those kind of guys. And that's where I'm going to leave you guys on the show here, is after the Tigers' loss and Tarek Skubal's historic performance of throwing 14 Ks in an elimination game, he is the best pitcher in baseball. He is a beast. And there's already talks of, are the Tigers going to trade him? Tarik Skubal has one more year of control where he will be making measly arbitration money. Right now, the Detroit Tigers are 17th in payroll in MLB. They have $91 million on the books for the 2026 season. And then if you go to 2027, which would be the first year of Skubal's free agency, they have $28 million down. I don't care if for the first couple of years you got to pay him $45-50 million a year. There is no excuse that you let Tarik Skubal walk. And it's not just because you have a win now manager in AJ Hinch, but it says a lot to the other guys in that room, both the veterans like Javi Baez, as well as all the young players coming down the pipeline, the Max Clarks of the world. You need to show that you're keeping the face of your franchise in-house. Pitching wins in October. And if you can build a team from the farm system and from patchwork free agents, you can build out the rest of the rotation behind Skubal. They can have another winner in Detroit. But if you trade Tarik Skubal, it is a poverty move. It is a sign that you don't believe in the rest of this core that you have. And it would be the end of a very short competing era here in Detroit. And Detroit baseball fans are some of the best in the country. They're loyal. They love their baseball. And I cannot wait to see Tarik Skubal get the extension he deserves. The Tigers have him in-house. They should be getting the extension done this offseason. I cannot wait to watch this championship series. Like I said, it kicks off in a couple hours. Game 1, Mariners, Blue Jays. And then we will have, obviously, the Dodgers and the Brewers as well. I will be back at the culmination of the championship series with my reactions, with my World Series picks, and any other baseball topics that come up in the meantime. Have a great week, everybody. I'm Don Manna, and I'll see you guys in the next one.